Please don't take my children!
How have you been feeling? Have you been sleeping any better?
Oh, rough. Then again, I never slept well before this
Condition.
Condition? It's called pregnancy. It's okay to say it out loud. Something's happened.
Can you just please drive?
Did you see something?
Come inside! What's going on?
People describe seeing an entity that takes on the form of your worst fears.
Oh my God. What are you looking at? What did you see? What is wrong with you? Please stop it!
We can't stay here.
Every contact we have had with the outside has brought us death.
Your kids, they deserve hope.
Every single decision I have made has been for them.
Thank God.
Listen to me. We are going on the trip now. It's going to be rough. Hold on! If you hear something in the woods, you tell me. If you hear something in the water, you tell me. But under no circumstance are you allowed to take off your blindfold.
You hear that? The creatures.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. I am the Ink Northerner, and as you will have seen from the title and from the trailer that I've just shown, I'm back with another Gamers film review. This time the 2018 Sandra Bullock starring Bird Box. This is the second film off of the 100 must-see horror films, or whatever the scratch poster was that I got, that I showed. So yeah, let's get into it. So the film itself was directed by Susan Bier, B-I-E-R, so I think it's Bier. She is a Danish director who, based on her IMDb page, seems to have really only done things in Denmark until making Bird Box. She then she directed an American miniseries in 2016 called The Night Manager, and after making Bird Box seems to have gone back to directing TV. It's written by Eric Heiserer, I think that's how you say his name, based on the 2014 book by Josh Mallerman. And the film itself debuted at the American Film Institute's AFI Fest in 2018. That was in November. It then had a 7-day limited cinema release, and then began streaming worldwide on Netflix on the 21st of December 2018. So yeah, that's sort of the introduction of the film. Let's move on and have a chat about the cast then. Okay, so let's have a quick run through of the cast. There's a couple of big stars in here, some people who have had reasonable careers, and a couple of new guys. So we'll start off with Trevante Rhodes, who is the male I don't want to say hero in this because he's not the hero as such. He's had a couple of smaller roles in film and TV, including Westworld. He also starred in a Jay-Z video, and his biggest credit is in the 2018 Shane Black directed Predator film. I think it's called The Predator. I've yet to watch it. I don't know what it'll be like. We then have Sarah Paulson. So Sarah Paulson is probably better known from the it's not a spin-off, the TV, well, yeah, I guess it is a spin-off, the TV spin-off from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest called Ratcheted, where she played Nurse Ratchet. She's also been in both American Horror Story and American Crime Story, is it called? And has several other film credits to her name, including 12 Years a Slave and Glass. We have Colson Baker. He is better known from his stage name of Machine Gun Kelly. Baker is better known for his music, from what I could gather, than his acting. However, with music videos and things like that, he's got over 100 credits on IMDb. Like I say, many of those are from music videos. We have B.D. Wong, who's appeared in a lot of films and TV. I would most note him for being Dr. Henry Wu in the Jurassic Park / World series of films. He is also credited. What did I see he was credited starring? There's a spin-off or some TV adaptation of Gremlins coming out. I'd not heard about it. I think it's called The Secrets of Mogwai. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I hadn't heard of it. The next actress is a British actress. A lot of people in the UK will probably know her from a role in the film Bend It Like Beckham alongside Keira Knightley. She's had many US TV appearances as well in shows such as ER and The Blacklist, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and most recently another Netflix production, 13 Reasons Why. The actress in question is Parminder Negra. And then the final two stars really don't need any introduction, unless you've been hiding in a cave since cinema since the 80s. The main actress in it is Sandra Bullock. Obviously, she's noted for her starring roles in the Speed films. She was amazing. She played an amazing character in Demolition Man alongside Stallone and Wesley Snipes. She also was in two Miss Congeniality films, and she won an Oscar for her portrayal in The Blind Side, which is a pretty good film. Really enjoyable true story, based on a true story film. The last guy needs no introduction really. The last actor is John Malkovich. His film credits speak for themselves. You know, he's played amazing characters in The Line of Fire in 1993. His hilarious portrayal of Cyrus the Virus Grissom in Con Air alongside Nicolas Cage. He also starred as F.W. Murnau in the film Shadow of a Vampire, which is loosely based on the making of Nosferatu. And then he has sort of comedic performances as well in Johnny English and Zoolander. And then the film that essentially you can't really forget when you're talking about John Malkovich, and that is Being John Malkovich, where he portrays himself or a version of himself. So yeah, that is the cast. As I say, it's not a massive all-star cast. Some interesting actors in it, but yeah, I'll probably now going to talk a bit about the plot. I'll try and not give everything away, but I'll talk about the plot, and then we'll move on from there. So here we go then with the plot. So the film opens with Sandra Bullock's character Mallory telling two children in the woods that they're going to be going on a trip down the river. She's very, very strict with them and stern about the rules of not removing their blindfolds. We see that as being sort of now, if you will. From here, the film switches between sort of two stages in Mallory's life, to the point where they eventually, this is what I'm looking for, join up to this bit where she's navigating her way down the river. So the first flashbacks we see, it flashes back to 5 years previous, showing Sandra Bullock's character as being heavily pregnant. Her sister brings her groceries before accompanying her to the hospital for a scan. When her sister's in the room, she's talking to her. There's a news broadcast on, and they mention something that's been occurring in Romania, I think it was, about a strange illness affecting people and them going insane. When they get to the hospital, they have the scan. When she comes out of the scan, her sister goes to get the car. Mallory sees somebody who she clocked when she was walking in start banging her head against the glass window, and that leads to all sorts of panic around her. Pardon me. She leaves the hospital, gets in her sister's car, and tells her sister to drive and get out of there. It's at this point her sister sees something, a bit more on that later, and this causes her to flip the car, driving erratically and flip the car. Both sisters get out. They're relatively unscathed. Sandra Bullock's got some cuts on her hands. Jessica, who's her sister, she's still in sort of the trance-like state. She basically walks into the path of an oncoming truck and gets obliterated. Mallory then begins to set off on foot as a crowd runs past her. Obviously she's pregnant. She falls, and then a woman shouts her over and asks her to come into the house, despite her husband Douglas, who is John Malkovich's character, disagreeing. He doesn't want anybody else to come in. The woman, as she's trying to help Mallory up, sees whatever it is that's that Mallory's sister's seen, and she too commits suicide by going in and sitting herself in a car that's burning. Mallory's picked up by Tom, who's a passerby, and they make it into the house, and then this is where it becomes the base for this group of people. Time passes slightly, their food begins to dwindle down. At the same point, another character turns up called Olympia. She turns up and she too is heavily pregnant. What happens is they one of the group who used to work in a supermarket, Charlie he's called, they hatch a plot to drive to the supermarket, you navigating using sat-nav. They black out all the windows and use the proximity sensors on the car so that they know when they're near things. They gather up as much food and supplies as they can. As they're doing so, there's a knock at a service entrance at the back. It turns out that it's a store employee, so this is part of the first twist, sort of. I wouldn't really call it a twist, but the employee, rather than being killed by whatever it is all these people are seeing, is kept alive to try and infect other people. Charlie saves the rest of this group by rushing the worker out and forcing him outside. that then leads to Charlie dying. So they eventually get back to the house, and obviously when they're back at the house, it comes to night time. Olympia lets another stranger into the house, despite Douglas's not wanting that to happen. Douglas eventually takes the shotgun that they've got and and sort of threatens the person to get out, and anybody else who doesn't like it to get out. This leads to Douglas being locked in the garage. He's knocked out by Tom, I think it was, and locked in the garage. The garage. So yeah, that plays that part. I'm trying to think now of the rest of it. During this scuffle, both of Sandra Bullock's character and Olympia go into labour. The group are sort of panicked over the survivors. The women in labour. It's at this point that the survivor that Olympia let in actually turns out to be similar to the store worker, and he begins to wreak havoc in the house, tears down all of the window coverings. Eventually he makes his way upstairs and he forces open the eyes of one of the survivors. That person then stabs himself several times with some scissors. This is after he's had a clash downstairs with Tom, and overpowered him and knocked him out. At this point, he's moved on to Olympia, and he's trying to get Olympia to open her eyes. She doesn't close her eyes in time, and she eventually too commits suicide by running and jumping out of a window shortly after handing her baby to Mallory. Mallory then protects the two children. Douglas has managed to get out of so John Malkovich's character has managed to get out of the garage, and he has the shotgun. He's blindfolded because obviously all the windows are open, and he sort of tries to hold this, I want to call it this psychopath at bay with the shotgun. The psychopath kills Douglas. Tom eventually comes round and he overpowers the psychopath and kills him. It's at this point, after Tom's eventually saved the day and they calm the children down, we flip back to modern day. We flick to the future. Mallory and Tom, who are now in a relationship it seems, are living with the two children. The children at this point in time are only called boy and girl because one's a boy and one's a girl. They get a radio call from somebody called Rick, who tells them about a compound or somewhere that they can go to, a community. They decide that they're going to make their way to this community, but whilst going there, they are ambushed by some more of the unblindfolded. The non-blindfolded people. Tom allows Mallory to escape with the children, he allows her to escape. He eventually has to open his eyes in order to kill all of these people. He manages to kill all the members of the unblindfolded, before unfortunately succumbing to the whatever it is they're seeing and shooting himself. So this is the point where the film flips back and the timeline comes to Mallory and the children. They're travelling down the river blindfolded. They hit some rapids. The boat flips. All three are able to find each other. However, shortly after this, they're separated again because Mallory falls down a large embankment, a large hill, and then whatever these people are seeing, tries to persuade the children to remove their blindfolds. Luckily, they resist and they're reunited with Mallory, eventually leading to the three of them finding the community at a former school for the blind. They meet Rick. They also meet Mallory's doctor from the scan. All the while they have these birds that, the birds warn people of when things are near. They've had these birds since the store. They release the birds and eventually Mallory names the children Tom and Olympia and acknowledges that she's their mother, because she hasn't acknowledged that she's their mother all the way through. And that pretty much ends the film. There are bits and pieces in there that I've left out to not give you everything, but that's pretty much the film. What we'll do is I'll move on to some sort of some bits of filming information, some further facts, and then I'll just tie everything together with my final thoughts. So yeah. Okay, so before I start wrapping up and giving my sort of thoughts on the film and what I think of it, I thought I'd give a bit of information on the filming and some sort of little facts like I've done with the rest. The film rights were originally bought by Universal Studios, and even at one point they had a director attached to this. He directed It and Mama, Andy Muschietti. However, one of the producers of that film actually got a job with Netflix as the head of their film division. This eventually led to Netflix acquiring the rights. Now, when I was first watching this, I didn't think it actually gave you any information as to where it was. I've only watched this once, and so I didn't think they'd give you a location for the film, but it turns out that they did. I must have just missed it. All the filming of this is in California. They used a lot for the birds that they have in the film. They use live birds, apart from when they're going crazy, when whatever they see is around. When they're going crazy, they're digitized in. The music as well was done by Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails fame. They also wrote the score for Social Network. Is it the Facebook film? I think it's Social Network, and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the American remake. Couple of facts that I've taken from sort of IMDb. It was reported that Sandra Bullock actually ran into cameras several times while filming because the majority of the film she's blindfolded. Netflix actually announced that it got 89 million views in the film's opening 4 weeks. I was not one of those viewers. You'll probably find out why when I give my final thoughts on this. The film initially featured footage from a disaster in Canada, in Quebec. A freight train had derailed and exploded, causing 47 deaths, I think it was. Initially Netflix said they weren't removing it. They bought the footage from somewhere. They said they weren't removing it, and then they eventually did. I think there was another film that they did that this happened with. So what are my sort of thoughts and my takes on the film? So for me, the film is just nothing happens. I think is the best way of putting it. There was no payoff to the entire film for me. You don't ever see what it is that people are seeing. So there's no monster as a payoff. It doesn't even cleverly make you use your imagination to know what's there. It uses a lot of editing techniques that I really dislike. A lot of fades, a lot of wipes, a lot of jump cuts, rather than and it makes the film jarred and disjointed slightly. I don't like the vehicle of them going back and forth in time. It doesn't really work for me. Some films, it will work in, but that as a vehicle is just a weak. I know it comes from a book, so I have to blame the book for it, but it's kind of a weak mechanic for the film. I don't want to do the director a disservice, but you can certainly tell it's directed by a television director rather than a film director as such. But yeah, The acting, not even Sandra Bullock or John Malkovich could save it. It really, there is one scene of note that I liked the filming, and I wondered why I'd recognised it, but I'll explain why I recognised it in a second. There's one scene that I particularly liked, just the way it was set up and the way it was shot. I'm surmising that this is why. So there's a scene where Maori's running away and you see a pram sort of rowing towards you. Very, very reminiscent of the Odessa step sequence from Battleship Potemkin, or the step sequence in The Untouchables where the pram rolls down. Now, the single pram on its own is very representative of humans. What's the word I'm looking for? It's very reminiscent of craziness and human beings having a lot of things going on in their lives, and a lot of disaster happening around them. Because we, as humans, we guard our children, and the pram is just left alone, the solitary pram rolling down. So that's where that comes from. I don't want to say it's a bad film. It's not a great film. I would suggest watching it once, and you'll probably never watch it again. I like I say, it's on the scratch poster that I've talked about. I wanted to do it. It was next on the list that I came to. I just did that, and it's where it landed. Hopefully, it's not going to be. Hopefully, there are going to be better films on there. Well, there are better films in there. I already know. Sorry, I'm pointing over here. You can't see it, but the poster's over here to my right. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't go out of my way to recommend somebody watch this. I wasn't a fan. Didn't like the way it was filmed. Didn't like the style, the pacing. I didn't like the fact that you don't seek in anything. There's no big bad at all. Even the ending is very, very meh. There's no danger in the. I don't know whether it was just, but even in my head, I wasn't. It's not like a Psycho where a lot of the violence is implied, or Reservoir Dogs where the violence is implied, where he's cutting the guy's ear off. That's implied, and you use your mind to make that up. That didn't happen with this film. It wasn't great. Like I say, I've watched it now. I will never go back to it again, I don't think. But yeah, I'm not going to encourage people to watch it. If you're bored, need something to do, stick it on, but it's not the best. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with it. As I said in the last one that I did, the for Geordie Slasher Gaming, the request. If anybody does have a request of any films that they want me to look into, they want to see more of, hit me up in the comments. Let me know. If there's anything you think that you want me to add to this, if there's any extra information you want to know when I'm talking about these films, then let me know. I'm trying not to make it very academic. I'm trying to sort of keep it light and not go into shot for shot on how cameras are set up and stuff like that. But if that is something people want, then there's certainly going to be some films that I can do that with. But yeah, I guess that's where we're at. I wouldn't recommend this film. If I had to give it a rating out of 5, I would probably put it at a 2. It's not super bad. It's not good though. So yeah, watch it once, but I didn't advise you to watch it. Yeah, I'm gonna stop now before I keep rambling on. All that's left for me to do is thank you for watching. I am the Ink Nerd.